haven't found out how we can resize the video, so we're stuck with the same size again. But it worked last time, so I think that's fine. I'll start by introducing myself a little bit. My name is Erik Kroes in Dutch. I work at ING, a big Dutch bank, and there I am responsible for making their web components accessible. So the components that are made in the design system, I test them, I improve them, and I guess it's my responsibility, sort of. I'm here today with Eric Bailey. Hi, Eric.
Hello. I actually just read your web components post on dev.to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You had all the time to read that.
I'm not doing a lot of sleeping these days. So.
Oh, that must help. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. For the people that didn't see it, I wrote a blog post for myself earlier, and it was all in Markdown. And then I thought, why not cross-post it to dev.to? And that's really easy because you can use Markdown as well. And they allow to add a canonical URL. You have experience with those, Eric?
Yeah, I didn't realize they had that feature. That's really interesting.
They have it. So that basically means that all the link juice, as people tend to call it, gets sent to my original website still. So if any browser or automated client or whatever goes to dev.to, they can see that the original article is actually on my website.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not post it? And you can add some tags. So I added a tag accessibility because it's an introduction to making your web components accessible. So it kind of felt right to add a tag accessibility. And then you watch this category accessibility and you see all these articles. And you see mine, it says estimated reading time 11 minutes. And all the others are 1, 2, 3, or 4 minutes. And I'm like, okay, those are nice reads. And that's easy. And I practically wrote a book. And, well, still people read it, apparently. So I hope there was something useful in there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. As somebody that chronically writes long things, I'm trying to make shorter things, but it's
not easy, isn't it?
It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically why I started streaming. I spent so much time on writing that I was like, I think I'm better off just streaming and not spending so much time thinking about things. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do in the last 2 weeks? Because 2 weeks ago we spoke as well.
Yeah. I completely forget because time has no meaning anymore. I mean, honestly, I've been doing a ton of doom scrolling on Twitter and just kind of.
Well, glad you have Twitter.
Yeah. I don't want to make myself sad, but also I feel it's like my responsibility to learn as much as I can.
Yeah. And there's so much to learn.
Yeah. There's a really good, actually, if I can plug, Kim Creighton is doing a webinar on anti-racism.
Yeah.
And
is it a link I can easily find, or?
Crayton.
Crayton.
Yeah. And
I'll just share her Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, she's been promoting it, but there's a podcast called Seeing White that is the required listening before this event, and it's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
Oh God, look at all that refer junk. Yeah.
Friends don't let friends open referral links, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just kind of, given me a lot to think about is an understatement. So if it's something you're interested in, I very much recommend it. It's not going to make you feel happy, and it's not going to make you feel comfortable, and that's the point, as far as I understand it so far.
Yeah.
So really looking forward.
That's also why we do what we do often. So
yeah.
If I wanted to be happy or rich, I would be doing something else, I think. So
yeah,
that's all good. Yeah, well, good.
Yeah.
So she's been busy.
Yeah. So very, very much looking forward to Saturday and learning a lot more. And I'm glad she's spending her own time and effort to educate.
Yeah. Good. So that's been your 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Good question. The funny thing is I've had a lot of medical appointments. It's like lockdown has eased on several fronts, and apparently everybody thinks, oh, this is the perfect time to start making appointments, and then suddenly your week fills up with appointments, and you also get the message that lockdown has eased apparently.
Yeah.
They all come at you at the same time, and at the same time I started with my kid in preschool again. We discussed with medical specialist of my wife. She has some lung issues, so we have a lung specialist, and they said, yeah, I think it's about time that we can try this. We didn't want to be part of the first people to try it out. Strangely, we didn't feel much compelled to do that. But now she's in preschool again. I heard today that she almost broke out, so I think things are going well. And yeah, that's basically it. And I had the morning off, and I spent my time making a switch button, so I think that's perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I keep eyeballing switches, so because I think it's an interesting technology, and I don't know. Have you played around with switch control much, or?
No, I'm talking about the actual HTML element.
Okay.
I was doing it the easy. I can show you the sneak preview. Yay! No, I spent my morning making this.
Oh yeah, those are fun too.
Yeah, and it works. So I think I spent the morning making it, and now I can spend 2 days writing about it or something. So
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good division. But what we're not here to talk about my button, of course. That would save me 2 days, but no. I'm just gonna scroll down. This is basically part 2. We spoke each other. Sorry for all the scrolling in the screen. We spoke each other about 2 weeks ago. I think it was Friday back then, and we saw this, and we stopped at one of the people that you spoke to who basically went through an inaccessible web store, and they ended up not buying their $1,600 speakers there because nobody wants a bad user experience, and e-commerce is about to learn that experience. I think I'm just going to read.
Sure.
I just did some reading to my daughter, so I have been practicing already. I'm just going to take a bit of drinking first. Just water.
I mean, I don't judge.
No, just clarifying. I already wobble when I walk without drinking anything special, so easy. I don't need any alcohol for anything. So the article that we are reading is about equivalent experiences. We've done a lot before. We don't have that much time this time, and it's already the second part of the webcast at least, but we're still in the first article, so I think we better cover some ground, or try to cover some ground with this one. Opportunity isn't limited to e-commerce. I can enlarge this. Isn't limited to just e-commerce either. As more and more services digitize, we paradoxically push more people out of being live in the society, being to live in the society that relies on these digitized services. People with protected rights.
I think you may have found a typo. Being able to live, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to read, maybe. I get a question in the chat. Is there a hard end time today? Well, this is the second session, so I don't want to continue this every week. Sorry, Eric, but we shouldn't be doing this every week. Not on stream, at least. And Eric has limited time, I think, as well, because there are some clients always waiting for you.
Yep.
Or at least I hope so.
3 o'clock Eastern, so about an hour. So.
Yeah, about an hour. We already wasted someone talking about my daughter, so that's going to be okay.
Also, thank you for tuning in, whoever you are.
Yeah, that's Marijn. He's our loyal fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to learn from you, so big responsibility there.
Yeah, no pressure.
Again, the shift away from an equivalent experience is the culprit, and then we switch to Justin Yarbrough, I think it's called. Was applying for an accessibility-related job with the Arizona Department of Economic Security over the summer, where they wanted me to take an assessment. The button to start the assessment was a clickable div. They wound up waiving the assessment requirement for this position. Well, that's a great start. So you start an assessment, and the assessment isn't accessible. So the assessment is a test, but not the official part of the test. That's okay.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's like this is structural inequality,
Yeah.
in fact, and like
Yeah.
it's a government organization which is compelled to be compliant, and whatever vendor made that assessment probably didn't do a VPAT or anything like that, and
Yeah. It's at least they weren't applying for nothing. I think that's where it starts. But it's a really strange situation.
Yeah,
it's a personal frustration of mine that a lot of people can call things accessible when they are not. But in the US, you at least have these VPATs, right?
Yep.
Can you shortly say what it is, a VPAT?
Yeah, a VPAT is a voluntary. Oh my gosh, I'm going to quickly Google the acronym because
you don't need that part.
But basic voluntary product accessibility template.
Yeah.
Which is if you make a thing, you have a statement that says, not only is this accessible, but here's how. And it's something that you can request as a purchaser to basically say, when you say it's accessible, do you actually know what you're talking about? Have you done the homework?
Which is an interesting question in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, which I was just going to say, like, there's a lot of nuance in that you're basically certifying yourself, which is always a dangerous situation. But usually the presence of a VPAT indicates there has been some thinking around the issue.
Yeah, and the moment that you claim something, you have to be able to back it up, right?
Yep.
So they are liable, and that's a big word in the US. I know that much.
Yep. We're very litigious.
Yeah, we don't have anything like that here. So basically, any company can claim anything, and what is accessible is rather open to interpretation. So if you buy as part of a government or a municipality or whatever, you are involved with purchasing any digital products, and you know nothing about accessibility, then it's really hard to buy accessible. You might not even be aware of the fact that it should be accessible, let alone what it means to be accessible. So yeah, that ends up to be sort of like a chicken egg situation. Sometimes it's rather complicated.
Yeah, and that's the education thing, where we just need to teach this in computer science the way we teach other concerns,
and design, of course. Yeah.
All the
parts.
The other thing is about Justin, I kind of want to point out is like, in terms of waiving the assessment, like that starts to get into reasonable accommodation territory. And what I think in terms of like an actual equivalent experience, in electronic assessment, like a digital assessment, there's nothing stopping that from being operable with assistive technology. So like the idea of reasonable accommodation for that is like kind of, I view it as like intrinsically inaccessible thinking, because it's like there's nothing stopping this from just working for everybody.
No, we basically get up to one or another famous quote, but people often say that HTML is accessible in the core. When you start with HTML, it's accessible. There's a lot to say about that, but we can say with a certain amount of certainty that this assessment could have been accessible, but it was made inaccessible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a clickable div, that probably means you were doing something wrong, and you either did not know what you were doing, or you did it wrong on purpose, whatever that purpose was. I don't know. But they could have made it accessible. Yeah. It could have been an accommodation. That's a tough situation for Justin. I'm just going to continue a little. Sorry. I just don't know what more we have to read, or how fast I can read. So Jim Keeley tells me about his brother who has stopped paying his water bill online because the city water website doesn't work well with a screen reader in high contrast. Very believable, I'm afraid. Yeah. Personally, I have friends who have been prevented from submitting resumes to multiple sites because their job application portals were inaccessible. Very believable again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like these basic needs, if they are not equal, then you're behind.
Yeah. It also speaks to representation, where it's like, if you can't enter into this space, you can't affect change. So, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, we don't need to make our sites accessible because disabled users don't use our sites. Well, it's
Yeah,
like, guess what? They're trying.
yeah. It. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I had a feedback form on my hospital website, and it was not accessible.
Yeah.
It had a CAPTCHA, for example, that was not accessible. Often website owners tend to say something like, hey, I'm not getting any feedback from people with disabilities. I guess I'm doing okay. And that's the part where they don't feel any feedback. I think did you have a quote by Carl as well?
Yeah, I think earlier on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, nobody has complained before is a silly excuse for not caring about accessibility. You're right, they didn't complain, they left. That's exactly. And when people leave, it means that you're not representing well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just use search to scroll down again. How to maintain equivalency. Use semantic markup, the button element for buttons, the anchor element for links, input and label elements for forms, etc. So basic HTML, or that's what it should be. Perform initial test of your user flows using assistive technology to make sure they make sense. Even without assistive technology, make sure they make sense. View your website or web app using high contrast mode and inverted colors to make sure interactive content is being displayed properly. Use actual assistive technology users to test your user flows. Demand third-party vendors to sign off on the accessibility of their product, including a voluntary product accessibility template or feedback. We had the abbreviation right here.
Yeah.
It's so complete. Yeah. And I really like it, this part. I spoke to the UN in the Netherlands some time ago, and there's a slogan they use a lot is nothing about us without us. And I think that goes for so many things. So this also, if you use assistive technology users when you test, it completes the circle, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have commercial space, and then we had adaptability, and then we have Søren. I spoke to him a little. I think he works at Envision, so he knows a little bit about working with digital products.
Yeah. Again, just they.
Oh, they. Sorry, I didn't even see that yet. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
It's something I really have to get used to.
Me too.
So Søren, they are a product marketing manager and design advocate, writes of their experience using magnification software and screen reading capabilities. Søren has varying levels of vision, so they tend to not always need the same level of accommodation. That's also tough for both parties. Of note, Søren mentions their struggles with grocery delivery apps. Specifically, the cart often only reads the quantities rather than the item name. Yeah, it's much easier to order with a sighted person. Yeah, which is easier? That's a good question. And there are 3 things to consider here. Oh, then we get a lot of text. You want to say something about Søren before I go into all the text?
They're lovely. I've been kind of chatting with them here and there, and I think one of the fun things for me for doing this was meeting some new folks who are just very interesting and have given me a lot to think about. I kind of wrote up a follow-up post on my personal site called Mug Handles, and it kind of talks about a lot of the stuff Søren and I have been chatting about.
Okay, shall I share that at the end then? I think that's a nice closing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first is the service level acknowledgement that the app operates differently for different people. The main point this article is driving at. So yeah, there we dive in. Second is the fact that Søren uses multiple forms of assistive technology with the mix a shifting combination depending on a combination of their task at hand and how well the digital interface meets their access needs. So basically, they have a kind of toolbox, I guess.
Yeah, it's also like we tend to think a lot about accessibility as a binary thing. So it's a blind person using a screen reader.
Yeah.
When in fact, like there's situational conditional disability. Like for Søren, it sounds like like their low vision changes depending circumstantially on certain factors. So like, it's one of those things where it's like many things, it's a spectrum and not
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's also a part of awareness, maybe, to be aware that is a spectrum. And I just mentioned toolbox. I try to imagine somebody walking around with a toolbox all day. I mean, you should never need a toolbox, right?
Yeah.
When
It's gotten so much better for that. My mom's an occupational therapist, and like I remember pre iPhone where like you would, if you were working with an insurance company, you'd get this like $15,000 device that somebody in their basement made to send to you to like meet your access needs. And
yeah,
then like they were just crappy. And then like things are getting better is what I'm trying to say.
it was a niche of niche, and now it's only a niche, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
when I walk around in real life and I want to get home or something and I need my toolbox, something is wrong. I mean, if I have to get inside my house with a toolbox, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Usually,
And that's,
I'm better off calling somebody as well. But sure.
yeah. And that's the social model right there, which is why is your built environment fighting you to get home?
Yeah.
Like what can we do to change that?
Why do I need that stuff? I shouldn't be needing that stuff.
Yeah.
How to maintain equivalency. So that's basically continued on the last paragraph. Make sure that the labels for your interactive controls are relevant and concise. Incorporate disability scenarios and conditions into your design personas. A really great step to just be aware for a lot of parties. Avoid using absolute length units. No, seriously. So you have two links for this one. You have the MDN link, I think, if I can read the source quickly enough. And 24 accessibility. Pixels versus relative units. Yeah.
Yeah, Kathleen wrote a really good, really in-depth post, basically, just that I consider kind of the canonical reason to just stop using pixels.
And it's not like nobody ever wrote about it before. I mean,
yeah,
it's been a topic.
Mm-hmm.
But relative. Everything relative. I think I have only relative units now and no pixels anymore. But don't check my website. Avoid setting maximum widths and heights. So I guess that goes into zoom tools. Avoid using fixed and sticky scrolling components, especially larger sized ones. Oh, the examples that we could have made. Test your layouts by zooming and or increasing your default type size to make sure that content does not get obscured. Yeah, there's so many interesting stuff when it comes to vision. I think we could do a separate session at least once about vision. We should do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to find somebody for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This brings us to our third and most important point. Autonomy. Yeah. I was already thinking this when you said, hey, they would be better off doing it with their neighbor. Then we're going to talk autonomy. Having to rely on the help of a sighted person to order groceries is not ideal, far from ideal. For many, the acquiring, preparation, and consuming of food can be highly personal acts. Being forced to incorporate outside assistance in this process is far different than willingly inviting someone in to share an experience. The same notion applies to every other digital product as well. For me, often the word that I end up with when it goes about, when people talk about autonomy is dependency. You don't want to depend. And that's a big thing. You don't want to be depending. It's okay to ask help every now and then. I like helping people. I like getting help sometimes even.
Mm-hmm.
Not often, but sometimes I do. But being dependent.
Yeah, like asking for help is on your terms. And that's,
exactly. You don't have to. Kenny also mentions grocery apps. My local Kroger grocery store has started an app redesign in June 2019 that is breaking accessibility with their app. It's good that they say redesign and not improvement.
Mm-hmm.
In discussing this regression, he goes on to elaborate, because I can't financially change to another business, I won't let it drop. Kroger is going to discover that I don't stop with a problem. Persistence in solving problems is a requirement for any disabled person if you want to succeed in the world. That's both a great and a terrible sentence at the same time, right?
Agreed.
Persistence in solving problems is a requirement for any disabled person if you want to succeed in the world. you're not going anywhere unless you work on it really hard. I mean, if you really want to succeed, it depends on your definition of success, of course, but basically this comes down to the situation of the social model. The world is not made for disabled people, especially not the world of Kroger, apparently. So you've got some screenshots here. Oh, lots of colors. This app looks great, provided you can see it. I actually see a few times, if you don't mind me pointing them out, a few things that if you don't mind me pointing them out, I'll show them. You have this bar at the bottom. Now, there's a problem with this bar. That's usually the last one in the tab order. So if you use a screen reader, your main navigation is at the end of the page. That's not ideal. But what they did rather nicely, at least for the visual users, they added text labels to their icons. Something I miss very often. Also, if you look at all the other options they have, apparel and accessories, baby, bakery, beauty, they all have an icon, but they also have a name, a visible, visual name. So they have a really good starting point. Visually, it looks pretty good, but somebody messed it up. That's such a shame.
Yeah, and I mean, this could be a case of, how tightly integrated design and develop are, given that there are some nice considerations, like it looks like it's decent color contrast. It looks like it's using common interaction paradigms. So I wonder if this is a case of when they redesigned, they started fresh and whoever rebooted the effort just didn't think about accessibility when developing. So all the existing work that was done in the previous version got blown away.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, people often want to make their mark, and if that's the UX designer starting from scratch, they leave a big mark. So
for better or for worse, yeah.
Goal achieved. Equality. Kroger would be wise to listen to Kenny's feedback. The grocery company Winn-Dixie was recently successfully sued for not being operable with a screen reader. The lawsuit argued that the grocer's website was heavily integrated with their physical stores and therefore violated the American with Disabilities Act, the ADA, because Kroger is both physical and digital, right?
Yep. And then specifically for this is a digital mechanism to enact physical change. So from what I remember of the case, that's kind of one of the big points, which is you don't do digital only things on the Kroger app. Most of it is doing digital things to get physical things.
Yeah. So would that make them liable, more or less liable?
Well, yes, because they were liable.
They were, okay. Yeah, good. Another recent case involves the Domino's Pizza franchise taken all the way to the Supreme Court, because why not? The ruling clearly and unambiguously states that preventing someone from using a website or app simply because they used screen reader software is unconstitutional. Now, the term unconstitutional doesn't always warrant results, but it's a good result for this case at least. For both cases, the cost to implement fixes were far cheaper than going to court. Yeah, I assume, especially if you take it all the way to Supreme Court. Something to think about the next time you're deciding where to order pizza. Let's hope so. I just made my own pizza this night. It was really nice. If you can make your own pizza, do that. It's much better. You actually get fresh stuff.
We did the pesto pizza last week. It was really good.
That sounds great. Anything with garlic scores points in my book. So yeah, that's good. Yeah. It's so nice that we're digital. Despite some ugly misconceptions about the ruling, the evidence is clear. In the United States, there is now a legal precedent for private companies to be sued for violating civil rights via an inaccessible digital experience. Europe and some parts of Asia have similar laws as well. Yeah, I want to dive into this in one session, ask somebody to tell us more about European law. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
You have any suggestions? Maybe? It's not really part of your job, is it?
Maybe Job. I know he's European and does accessibility. So I don't know.
You're just going to list European people. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I'll dig into it. No worries. So how to maintain equivalency is understand that technical decisions can have legal consequences. Yes. If we cannot use the carrot, we can use the stick. Honor the law and don't create circumstances that lead to discrimination. Yes, please. Familiarize yourself with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, because we often find them either written in the law or written in the results of the law and the cases. I mean, I assume WCAG is not mentioned in ADA, but I think it was part of the lawsuit, right?
I believe so, yes. I'd have to double check.
Yeah. Add accessibility requirements to your acceptance criteria. Add manual and automated accessibility checks to your design and development workflows. So this is all also really good if you're worried about legal issues. Then basically make sure that you've done something at least. That's a starting point.
Yeah, I'm very much of the mind that these are QA concerns the same way any other code is a QA concern, in that it's technical information you can train somebody up on that they can then verify or not.
Yeah. If you talk about basic HTML, I mean, somebody that could see if something is basic HTML or not would be a QA person probably.
Yeah.
If those people are still employed, I think that's not really a trend anymore.
They're out there.
Yeah, they're out there. Yeah, thankfully, yes. But I see multiple large organizations that don't really have QA anymore. I don't know why. I don't know how it really works because I only see it not working. But it's some modern thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also it's very prevalent to not have any kind of QA in a startup culture. Just probably because you don't have a lot of money to start, but
break fast and move things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breakfast and move things. That's much better. Reactivity. Another way to maintain an equivalent experience, one that is often not thought about, is to give reports about accessibility issues the same weight and constraints as other software bugs. Yes. Accessibility bugs are bugs. Reported accessibility issues are oftentimes downplayed and ignored. Break fast and get investors. Yeah, that's also a good one. We talked about food. All these food delivery companies just going for market share. I think there's a lot to learn if you're interested in startups and market share. So they're often downplayed and ignored, or are sent to someone ignorant of the issue and or powerless to fix it. So we have some Dutch expressions for that, but they don't really work in English.
I mean,
you've got one?
No, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, I would even think. I'm just going to translate to Google. It makes it worse.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Send someone with a ball into the reed. It doesn't get much better, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically what it's all about. This is the other one. Carrying coals to Newcastle. Oh, they make an actual expression out of it. This basically says carrying water to the sea.
Yeah, I've heard that one before, and yeah, that's a good one.
That's better. The other one basically says you give somebody something that they can't do anything with. Yeah. So you say, "Good luck."
Yeah.
Here you have it. It's your responsibility now. Go and handle it. Yeah. Send someone with a ball into the reed. I don't think I'll use this very often in English. Yeah. No? Okay, then we'll continue. Kenny, who started using a computer with screen reader in 1984, says, when I run into accessibility issues nowadays, I'll try reporting it when I get the usual response from the feedback of the person not caring. Usual, yes. I just give up and walk away. If the response comes from somebody in marketing who doesn't understand accessibility, I just give up and go away. There's no point in trying to reach these people about accessibility. Kenny's view is shared by many others in the disability community. Remember what I said about compounding effects earlier? Yes, exactly. I can only acknowledge. I mean, I've got so many complaints about user user service or support or whatever they call themselves these days. I think it's mostly a way of not talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand Kenny, and since 1984, he must have seen some changes. Kenny's view is shared. Yeah, Brian reports that if I find significant issues with a site, I do report it. Depending on who I talk to, it ranges from here's what doesn't work to all kinds of technical detail about why. If I can get to the right people, yeah, that's a big if. I never can get to the right people. I should talk to Brian probably. Getting it to the right people is key. Another part of equivalent experience is handling feedback in a timely and constructive way, much as how you would with any other issue with your product or service. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Kenny is like kind of one of the things I want to point out here is like, why are we putting the burden on these, on these people who are just trying to use your service, and now they have a part-time job to figure out who to contact, how to contact, and then like plead with them to consider it an actual issue, as opposed to treating it like any other defect in the software where it's has existing processes to like catalog it and create tickets to fix it.
Yeah, it's basically they're trying to move to responsibility. I think most websites these days, they say like, you just try and contact us. Try and find our contact information. I mean, that's a challenge. I used to run a web store. And if there's one thing I learned is that feedback is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like Carl said in the quote that we already repeated again, assume that people won't give you feedback. And if you don't get feedback, you cannot improve. So every time you get feedback, you may not like it, but it's basically all you've got to improve. So putting the whole burden on feedback, something that you cannot depend on or count on, that's risky.
Yep.
Responding to an accessibility issue is easy. Thank the person for taking the time and effort to report the issue. Yes. They're basically user testing your product after you've launched it. Acknowledge the issue and identify what person or team will be handling it. Ask clarifying questions as needed. Offer potential workarounds. Hey, we've got Shelly in the channel as well now, who is now a member of the Twitch platform, I believe.
Yeah, I saw. Congratulations, Shell.
Yeah, that's a good part of the story, right?
Yeah, I know moving platforms is scary. So
yeah, and ignoring all the other issues with platforms right now.
Yeah,
that's another stream. Offer potential workarounds with the understanding that they're only temporary and until the underlying issue is addressed. Offer to involve them in the process, including notifying them when the issue has been fixed. Well, that would have been great. Yeah, it sounds like an actual conversation.
Yeah, and kind of the sticky bit there is the potential workarounds, where I've seen organizations, they have a dedicated accessibility support like contact, which is dangerous in my opinion, because it starts to skirt into issues of autonomy, which is, why do you need a special dedicated point person to do things for people that others can just do by their own,
Yeah, it certainly makes very clear that it's not part of the entire organization.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I've seen a lot that is like kind of not so great in my opinion.
I think you have some singing in the background. Is that possible?
That would probably be a fire truck that went by.
Fire truck. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Boston Fire. Sure. I don't think we're gonna finish 2 articles, so I'm just gonna ask other questions instead. And if people in the chat have questions, just ask them. So
I would love that.
Yeah, people can read it by themselves. Because I was wondering, in the recent week, maybe it's been a bit more than a week, we've got some news about Twitter. They've launched voice chat. I have considered streaming just about that topic, but I've seen so many things that I really didn't know where to start even. But one of the interesting parts of it was that they said, hey, we do not have an accessibility team. How did that make you feel?
I always suspected, but I never. I was sad and mad to see it confirmed. I think.
So that's SMAD or something?
Yeah, that's my perpetual status. I don't want to say it's tricky, but I do want to say that one thing I hope comes of this is that individuals are not blamed as scapegoated for organizational failure, especially including the developer who, or the product person who conceived of and deployed the feature. In that this touches on some intersectional problems, and I view this categorically as a failure of Twitter's management to not provide this. They have the means, they have the capability. There's no excuse for kind of treating it as a volunteer coalition.
Yeah, and I did see this term volunteer a lot, but if I understand it correctly, it's part of the job of these people, right? So you've just got some people that keep busy with accessibility specifically, and some that don't. So they don't do it for free; they still get paid. Just nothing extra.
But my understanding is also it's not their daily duties, and then there's also questions around their ability to affect product development. And I am very curious if at any point they were involved in this process. The way I view it is this is not like some niche technological implementation of something.
It was a really big feature.
Yeah, and it deals with sound, and there's already a lot of existing knowledge about captioning, not even as like a deaf community thing anymore. It's very popular on Instagram and other competing services, just for the simple fact that a lot of times people mute their phones while they watch videos. So it's like,
yeah, this is basically just like in your background, some alarm bells should have gone off. Yeah. Right at the point that somebody starts talking about sound, somebody should think, hey, maybe I should say something.
Yep. And so this went through multiple tiers of approval, and at no point was objection raised in a way that could be effective at delaying feature release.
Yeah, I sort of replied to it as well. My first thought was accessibility within a large organization is really, really hard if you have nobody to actually like take responsibility for it.
Yep.
And I think that's something that then lacks at Twitter. But talking to you, I also think something else is that it's great to have a champion network, because that's what they often call these kind of things. Lots of organizations have champions or something that's comparable. So they have this network of employees that should know a little bit more about accessibility than others. But it also shows clearly that if you don't have champions everywhere, if the structure of your network doesn't represent the structure of your organization, you're still going to have issues.
Yep. I'd also say, like, these organizations need teeth. They need the ability to be involved in the process and the ability to alter the process or stop the process. It's a common issue with diversity and inclusion councils and stuff in corporate programs, where they're often separate from business goals and metrics. So it's largely, in my opinion, performative, where there's no way to affect system change if you're not equipped to operate in the system.
There should come some power with their responsibility, basically. They should be able to make change and not just have knowledge about something.
Exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. Shelley also says, so very true, that it feels like a show. Yeah, it's such a weird situation. And then out in the open, I mean, so many people fell over them, and then somebody declaring the situation out open. It's It's unbelievable, but hey, it's 2020, so it's not the weirdest thing we've seen. I'm just going to continue a little bit. How to maintain equivalency, create an accessibility statement, including known issues, a tentative timeline for their fixes, and easy to discover contact information. Ensure that anyone customer facing, so that's quality assurance that we just discussed, but also customer support, marketing, etc., are trained on protocol for accessibility related issue reporting. Yes, please. And then we have quantify accessibility related issues, both internal and reported. Be on the lookout for patterns and trends with discovered accessibility issues as they represent learning opportunities, and understand that not all platforms to collect feedback are created equal. That's also the feedback form that we talked about. And I think also when we talk about somebody taking responsibility, that's also in this area basically. Be on the lookout for patterns and trends with discovered accessibility issues. I mean, if you are a random UX designer or front-end developer somewhere in the organization with some extra responsibilities on the area of accessibility, you're not going to be busy spotting patterns or trends.
Yep.
You're not somebody with a strategic vision, or you're not going to lay out the road that you have to follow. You're going to do whatever is needed, but this is probably not part of it.
Yeah, this is also like, especially at larger organizations where there's kind of teams that work on specific aspects of a site. If team 7 seems to be creating a lot of accessibility issues around, say, focus management, that's indicative of potentially some training. It's a way to kind of help.
I would visit team 7.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of get the ball rolling on that. Like, everything is on fire and inaccessible. It's like, here is a way to do meaningful change, and direct action.
Yeah. Motivation. We've covered actual people's everyday frustrations, the biggest motivation you can have, as well as civil rights and the current legal landscape. If they don't motivate you, allow me to present another factor to consider: profit. You should start with profit. Makes life easier for a lot of people because they can just quit reading after profit. There are 2 provoking studies I'd like to call attention to, but they are by no means the only studies performed in this space. So I'm just going to scroll some more. You've got the Clickaway Pound, I think a British study about what accessibility can do, and people leaving your website. And you have here a hidden market, the purchasing power of working age adults with disabilities. So this speaks about the market that is available, basically. I think if people want to see numbers, they should just go into the article and see the numbers. I'm just going to share the URL in the chat again, just to be sure. I can read numbers. Yeah,
while you're doing that. So basically, the Clickaway Pound said that there's about 4 million people abandoning retail websites because of accessibility barriers, and that translates to around 17 billion pounds in lost revenue. And then the purchasing power of working age adults clocks in American lost revenue from American spending because of access barriers at $490 billion.
Incredible amounts. Yeah.
And then, this is looking at disability. It's recontextualizing consumer behavior with disability in mind. And that's something that we kind of haven't really done before. So it just it blew my mind to be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like
big numbers. Yeah. And here you say it as well, from a historical perspective, the web is still very much new. I think I can completely agree with that. And on top of that, its ubiquity is even more recent, meaning that use by the general population is a small sliver of the amount of time it's been around. Second is that the general population contains many people who are disabled, and that their needs are not being met. These unmet needs represent billions of dollars of potential revenue. Yeah. I think last time I had a question that compared books to the web to mobile experience. And like the web is so hard to compare with books. Like
Mm.
if we look from a historical perspective, books have been around so long and have settled in so many ways, and the whole ecosystem around them and the tools that you can use. And the web offers so much freedom. You can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, it's like the ubiquity is also like
Yeah.
up until I'd say about 15 years ago, which is like a blink in the eye in the history of commerce. Um, you needed a dedicated desktop computer, you needed a dedicated internet connection, you needed a dedicated uh, power, and you needed the time, the free time to develop the technical proficiency to be able to operate,
Yeah.
a computer. And that represents an immense amount of privilege to get that level of access.
Yeah. Yeah. That's things grow so fast. I used to go to Art Academy, and I like to look at new technology. And sometimes there was this new technology, and you would need a computer really big, and you would need the fastest processor and anything. And it was all new. It was experimental. But the most interesting part about anything experimental was that you could say, in a few years, I will be able to do this with my phone, probably using one hand instead of two, from some sort of app that works ridiculously easy. And it might not use as much processing power, but it will reach the same results for like 90% of what you want to do. So anything that you look at in computer technology, if it requires something special today, in a year you can probably do it on your phone. And that perspective has always been so, I don't know, eye-opening for me. Because time for computers just runs differently, And it's the ubiquity that you say, yeah. Something, a really practical example, for example, is panoramic pictures. This used to be something very special. I have a special tripod to take panoramic pictures. I have some software that takes way too much time to create a picture. I can also grab my phone. Probably with about 4 presses of a button, I can go like this, and the result is almost as good. And yeah, no effort at all. Let's hope the same thing goes for screen readers and all assistive technology, that they will also get as easy and accessible. Well, we'll see. So we talk. Is this all numbers yet?
Yeah.
Market. Yeah, I read numbers to my daughter every day, so I'm gonna skip that part, I think, for now. We have limited time. Let's not stop here. I just said we stopped. Too often we think of accessibility as a problem to be solved rather than a way of looking at the world. Equivalent experiences necessitate that we question our assumptions and biases and think about experience outside of our own. Yeah. Then we get back to empathy and sympathy that we also discussed last time, I think. It can be an uncomfortable thing to think about at first, but it's all in the service of making things usable for all. As web professionals, it's our job and our privilege to ensure that the experience we deliver are equivalent. In the second part, we'll investigate how to do just that. Well, I think we have about 10 minutes for the second part, so we should be perfectly fine.
Yeah. Just kind of like on that last bit.
Yeah, I'll switch back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the thing I want to stress here is it, you're fixing accessibility problems, yes, by which I mean you're optimizing bad code and bad designs to become good. You are not fixing people.
No, we're not. If there's any questions from chat right now, it would be a good timing as we're sort of in between two articles, but I'm just going to continue anyway. Let's see, you published this one on May 27th, this one on June 5th, so about a week later. But you always wrote this as one story, I think, right?
Yeah, it started short, like we were talking about writing short articles, and it just kept going. I just got so much good feedback from the people I interviewed that I was like, okay, this is just kind of keeping on going. And like, we're not going to cover this obviously, but like the big beats of this, where it comes into implementation, is I wanted to talk about usability, where accessible digital experiences can be intuitive and fun and easy to use the same way non-assistive technology experiences can be, but we are still screwing up the basics so badly that this is just a accessibility 101 article with a slightly different spin on it.
You just use longer words basically.
Yeah, and it's just use your color contrast, use headings, like it's frustrating. But I'm hoping that like by tying it to people's actual real people's actual feedback, that's going to kind of help take it
so
and make it a little bit more immediate.
So it feels to me like we know what we want to have stick with people. We just haven't found a way to make it stick. Because 101 doesn't work, so now you've got another angle. And we're going to see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah. The quick summary says, constructing an equivalent experience may mean changing the way you think about development and design, and potentially re-evaluating your existing work. In this article, we'll address common accessibility issues and how to best go about improving them so everybody can effortlessly access your content. So this is the second of two. Yes, previously, yes. In this article, I will discuss learning how to embrace an equivalent inclusive mindset. I will also provide practical, robust ways to improve your websites and web apps by providing solutions to common, everyday barriers cited by the people I interviewed. It is rather interesting that even with this not really random set of people, you still run into the same issues, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of selection bias in that, I'm pretty plugged into the disability community on Twitter, and thankfully they put up with me for the most part. But it's basically the findings of the ClickWayPound survey just over again, which is just like headings and color contrasts and image descriptions. Like,
it's not like we start finding new barriers all of a sudden or anything. Yeah.
I would love to find new barriers, by which I mean I wish that we didn't have them, but I wish that we were in a place where, like, everybody was doing the basics, and it was like, here's the really interesting, this technically passes WCAG, but it's unusable.
Actual usability.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I want to be. That's where I hope we can get to.
Well, maybe get into VR or games.
Yeah.
I hear games are pretty popular these days, so.
Yeah. I was reading about The Last of Us 2's all the features they implemented for that. Yeah. That's so cool.
Shelly says we can chat about mobile accessibility.
Yeah. It stinks.
Same issues, different technology. I mean, yeah. I completely understand it. I mean, it's we keep trying, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's the core of it all. Keep trying, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Setting a stand. Oh, sorry.
Have you talked to Shell, or has she come on here and to talk about video game accessibility?
No. You're taking up all my time so far, so we haven't yet.
Oh. I mean,
no, I'd love to have her. Yeah, no, I want to touch on games and so many subjects. I mean, there's so many interesting things to talk about. I mean,
yeah. And Eric, I'm sorry, I'm at I only have about 10 more minutes. So.
Yeah, sure, no problem. We knew this, right?
Yeah.
We're just gonna skip through it, and I just enjoy talking to you. So we could even read nothing, and it would be fine to me. So
I like talking to you too, fellow Eric.
Oh. Let it be digital, but still, setting a standard. So you talk about the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. The outline in painstaking detail how to craft accessible digital experiences. While a long and dense document, no arguments there, it is incredibly comprehensive to the point where it's been codified as an international standard. For over 10 years, we've had a globally agreed upon canonical definition of what constitutes as usable. Yeah, just say them to anybody. You can just tell them like go start reading WCAG, right?
Yeah.
It solves all
Why
issues. Why
why?
didn't you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, why don't we teach this at design schools?
yeah. No, it's funny. Anytime I mention WCAG to somebody who's not into accessibility as much, they are like, "Did you just mention? Did you really? Do you think I'm gonna read that?"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I see another question by Shelley Eric with a C. So that's you. I know we're out of time, but do you have anything out there on universal versus inclusive design?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Semantics.
Yeah.
I can just walk away
Uh,
now. So
I have half a blog post on this, kind of half written. I have kind of come to the conclusion that universal design has failed as an approach to design, in that it's too generic, and therefore is less actionable. Which isn't to dismiss the movement or the work that the people have done there. I prefer inclusive design because it deliberately acknowledges like societal and structural imbalance and what you can do to, you know, remove those barriers.
Shelley also says now we can throw universal design away. It's cool. So
Okay. Yeah.
I know nothing, basically nothing about what's happening in the US, but it almost sounds to me, so very personal opinion here, like a discussion about all life matters or Black Lives Matters.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of structural similarities there.
I mean, inclusive design feels like you're making a fist or whatever you want to make to actually fight for something.
Yeah.
And universal design doesn't acknowledge anything.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading about disability and criminal justice, specifically Black disability. And it is eye-opening. You know, I'm not naive enough to think that it wasn't, you know, things were good before I started, but just kind of the rabbit hole I've fallen down.
You already kind of knew it was not going to be a children's book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're talking about like diagnosis rates for like white children and Black children for things like ADHD, and how that translates directly to kind of the education to prison pipeline. You know, like if we're talking abolition, you know, do those funds go into social programs that help to, you know, with access? And then there's also like a lot of interesting accessibility issues in protest itself. You know, the need for interpreters, the need for like rest stops along parade routes, or, you know, not parade, but like protest routes, alt text in social media. So when you take screenshots of like news articles, or when you're passing around kind of memes, like making sure that the text content is available to people.
Or declaring that your organization is very inclusive and you have this nice white text on black background message.
Exactly. And then like protest paths again, just to kind of hit that, like doing the homework ahead of time to make sure that, like, you know, even if you're not getting shot at by police, that like the path itself you're able to navigate if you're using like a mobility
the privilege of not getting shot at. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's I'm not an expert in this by any means, but it's been really eye-opening. And, you know, kind of to tie it back to inclusive design. Inclusive design is like, there are problems and we need to fix them.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that answers your question, Shelley. Shall we? Shall we? I'm assuming that she will ask more questions if she has them. So,
Yeah.
I think we should finish up soon. Also, right? Could you just tell me short about what? Yeah, short. I mean, you spent way too much time on this, but could you tell me in short anything you would like to share about this? At least the URL of the follow-up article that you wrote. Can I find it on your website?
Yeah, we can throw that in there if you want.
Okay. If everybody closes their eyes, I'll just be browsing.
what's the joke? What if if I die, erase my search history?
Oh no, oh no.
Yeah. If you scroll down just a little bit.
Professionals have multiple browsers, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then it's just full writing archive, and then it's the first link. If you go into writing, scroll up a little bit. Yeah, and if you go to writing in the footer.
Is that how we navigate your website? Man.
I mean,
Mug handles, there it is.
Yeah.
So
this is,
as you basically stated, this is like a sort of follow-up article on the rest that you wrote.
Yeah, this is the unofficial third part.
Yeah. A little bit like Star Wars or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll definitely take some time to read that. I think you have a client coming up, and I don't see any new questions. So I really hope you have more than one client. You have enough to do. I hope you can fill your time and keep on doing what you're doing. I think I speak for a lot of people that I really appreciate your resources and all the time that you put into gathering knowledge and experience and how you share it. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for sharing it here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on and giving me the platform to talk about this. And also thank you to you for doing the same. Like, I hope this streaming keeps going. It's a ton of fun.
Hey, if nobody stops me, right? No, but if you ever have a reason to come along again, or you have somebody that you think could really make use of a platform, just let me know, and I'd be glad to host them. Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to find... You know what this is? It is every piece of video conferencing software has the hang up button in a different spot. I think this one was in the bottom, right? No, it's not in the bottom. Yeah, it's not showing.
Yeah.
I think I need to stop sharing first.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Now we see you big. Okay. Eric, thank you very much. Good night and good luck.
All right.
And I'll press the leave button. Goodbye.
And I'll see you online.
Bye-bye. And then for the people that were watching, also thank you very much. I'm going to stop the stream right here. And hopefully next week it will be my turn again without somebody. And I think I might be talking about how I use static WordPress for my website. I might be the only person on this planet using static WordPress. But I think my setup is rather interesting, so I like to share it. Thank you very much and see you next time.